Welcome back. It's feared the number of people out of work in Britain could top 2.5 million when the latest unemployment figures are released this morning. And it's not just people on lower incomes who are losing their jobs. Joe Scott Rogers was a successful account manager for a shoe company, but was made redundant a year ago.
I lost my job back in 2008, which I'd been with for 3 years. So basically I'd gone from £50,000 a year down to earning £67 a week. Every time I went for a job, you're overqualified or we can't pay that sort of money, and I said, well, I'm happy not to accept that. I just would like to be back out there working. You know, there is no other income other than what I was earning. So as soon as that stopped, it affected my whole family. At one stage, I actually had to go out and cash a cheque that I knew would bounce just to bring food in. So basically, until losing my home, which was very distressing and upsetting, because I just put everything into that. That was my dream, and it was mine, no one else's. I've worked all my life to get that, and a year later lost it. I've had to take tablets that have made me put on weight, just to sort of balance out, obviously, the depression or whatever's going on. I've never had a problem with getting a job until I turned 40. I'm still smiling, and I think that's the only way you can get through.
Well, we're joined now by Rob Tullen from the charity Elizabeth Finn Care, which tries to help people overcome the worst effects of redundancy. What a sad story that was, and typical, I suspect, of many people previously on what you might describe as middle-income families or citizens who are now find themselves in pretty dire straits.
Absolutely. It was interesting that the lady touched on depression, because we find that 75% of the people that come to us are suffering from some sort of mental health issue. I think the problem this time round in terms of the recession is that the economy is different. So we're very much now a service-led, skills-driven economy. So the kind of job losses we're seeing are in professions like marketing, sales, retail. We're getting a lot of architects come to us, that kind of thing. People
who've had it good for a long time.
Indeed.
And a big shock, so an even bigger shock to their system than perhaps someone who's had spells out of work previously.
Exactly, and in a lot of instances they're completely, you know, the benefit system is completely alien to them. And there's the embarrassment factor as well. We found that 40% of people, were they not in receipt of their next paycheck, wouldn't be able to pay their bills. Yet almost half of people would be too embarrassed to ask for help from those backgrounds.
And is it fair to say that a lot of them find the benefit system, well, mind-bogglingly difficult?
It is very difficult to get your head around, especially, as I said, if you're completely alien to it. But I think it is vital that in the first instance that you seek out the help immediately, rather than relying on credit cards and getting more indebted in the hope that something will come along, because sometimes it can take longer than is anticipated, especially if you've got a sparkling CV and you know, an impressive career background.
Some of Joe's friends are saying dumb down your CV because she's overqualified for many of the jobs she applies for. Is that a good idea?
I don't think so necessarily. I think I think you need to be true to yourself. And I think the answer is to hang in there, but ensure that you are seeking out the benefits that you are entitled to in the first instance, and then hope that something will come along.
Well, that's the big hope, isn't it? Of course, Gordon Brown and the government keep telling us about how they're doing their best to create more jobs, and you know they're pumping a lot of money back into the economy in the hope that that will actually happen. But are they the sort of jobs that would suit people like her?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't want to criticise the government in terms of what they've been doing during this recession vis-à-vis sort of youth unemployment, for instance. They've ploughed a huge amount of money into it, but I think the risk is that this group of people run the risk of becoming the hidden poor. The money, in comparison, that's been invested in sort of middle income, traditionally middle-class professions is much smaller proportionally than you're seeing invested in youth unemployment.
Rob, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. You're watching GMTV. The time right now, 23 minutes past 6.